We start the story with algae collector Kang Hyunmo, who works as a collector of algae crystal from the depths of the jars. It is a very dangerous job, but it does not bring in a lot of money. In a world where humans have been able to awaken a supernatural force to fight monsters and the danger behind the dungeons, people are arranged by their wake rank, where people with 0 stars are ordinary and incompetent people. After completing his shift, the hero meets a government employee. For this employee to tell him that he came to deliver what his father left him, which is a priceless stone in the form of a necklace. The hero holds the necklace tightly, but they are surprised during that by a bright light coming out of the necklace. Then he moves it to another place, a destroyed and deserted place where there is no one. A system window appears saying hello to the hero. You are the last survivor in humanity. You have achieved the impossible and entered the hell level. Also, you got the first rank in hell. During the hero's attempt to rectify the situation, blood spurted from his mouth, and he falls to the ground fainting. With the hero's certainty that no one is around and that he has not been attacked by someone, a window appears saying that he was killed by fine dust, and he stayed alive at this level for 4 minutes and 32 seconds. The hero wakes up again and wonders if what he experienced was just a dream. A window appears again informing him of the creation of his first mission in hell, and it turns out that he has to survive until sunrise. Without thinking, the hero starts running like a fool, and in about 5 minutes he dies again because of the fine dust. But because of his title, the last survivor in hell, the hero is brought back to life again whenever he dies. After reaching the 8th dead, the hero returns to his senses and tries to calm down and stay alive for as long as possible. After the passage of time, the hero notices that his resistance to toxins has increased. Yet the hero continues to die. But when he reaches the dead 28, he feels the vitality in his body and that he has become stronger. Then he acquires a rare skill called poisonous blood, which gives him complete immunity against toxins. And his blood also turned into toxins. After that, the hero wanders around and finds algae crystals everywhere. Fortunately, the system storage is activated and the hero can place crystals in it. But a few minutes later, the hero hears a strange voice heading towards him. Suddenly an army of mosquitoes appears and attack him. He tries to run away quickly, but he can't. Mosquitoes catch up with him and suck his blood, and there is no place left in his body that they does not reach. Even gets into his mouth and kills him. The hero awakens once again from the effect of his title. But this time, he found that his level had gone up, and he was able to eliminate more than 100 monsters in one go. This was due to the effect of his skill, the poisonous blood that was sucked out by the mosquito. The hero is still dizzy from what happened, so while he was walking he stumbles on a chair and smashes it, and earn a new skill called Dismantle. With this skill, he can dismantle anything he touches. A hero tries to put together the pieces he took apart, to also acquire again a new skill called Formation. Later on, Kang Hyunmo find a newspaper A and B while he tried to read it. Also get a new skill called Translation. He realizes that the place he is in now is the real world, but in the future only it was destroyed and no one was left alive. Since he can't change anything at the moment, he tried to exploit the situation and learn as many skills as possible. The hero uses his dismantling skills on the mosquitoes he killed, and he gets some raw materials. He would then use his forging skill on some of these materials and obtain a rare item Hell Arrow. Therefore, he decides to use his forging skill on all the materials he possesses. And he succeeds greatly, and obtain an unknown legendary egg. Meanwhile, the hero feels someone approaching, so he quickly hides behind the wall. And out of nowhere suddenly appears a goblin wearing a red hat. He immediately finds out where Kang Hyunmo is, and starts attacking him. The hero tries to resist in various ways and dodge his attacks, but Goblin was very fast. So he throws arrows of hell at him, and to no avail he can block them all. Only one arrow hits his right arm and the poison begins to spread across it, which forces him to cut it off. So the goblin gets angry and quickly jumps after him. He delivers a powerful blow that kills the hero. But what this demon does not know is that this person does not die, since the day is over and the hero is still alive. Thus, he successfully completed his mission. But that was after his death 30 times. As a reward for completing the task, he will receive a silver chest. However, as compensation for the difficulty of the mission compared to the level of the hero, the reward is increased to a golden chest. And after finishing the job, finally the hero can return to his world. Sang-moo gets angry and tries to break the necklace that was the reason for this. But after thinking again, the hero is sure that he can gain a lot of benefits through this stone. After the hero rested a little and took a warm bath. Check out the golden chest he got from the mission, which did not disappoint him by obtaining a legendary skill called the Battle Assistant. This kind of skill is only possessed by 8 people in the world. And for the money decides to sell the crystal of high purity that he obtained in hell. Kang-moo goes with his classmate to meet the buyer who paid a huge sum for these crystals. After shaking hands with the buyer, the hero realizes that this old man's strength is not normal. He hopes it won't cause him trouble later. After a few days, the hero returns to the hell level, in order to obtain more power and skill. After training for a certain period on the auxiliary battle skill, it becomes clear to him that this extraordinary skill helps him dodge punches and focus his strength in a single punch. Then he is shown a new task from the low beginner level, in which the hero must eliminate some modern industrial dolls. After hitting the first hit, the puppets activate the nutritional mode and target the hero, which is the 7th level in total, but the first level of martial arts, which is equivalent to being a bodyguard or soldier with at least 5 years of experience in wars. The hero gets serious and uses the battle auxiliary skill from the start. Dolls surround him on all sides and try to stabilize him. But with one punch, the face of one of the dolls is shattered. Because of that they activate the 2nd level of martial arts, where the puppets get stronger. So every doll hauls him from one part. Then they hit him with successive punches, and the hero dies from the severity of the blows. After the hero has been revived, he collects the pieces of wood and uses the formation skill on them. Thus, he obtains a stick with high attack power. After the first hit, he smashes the arm of one of the dolls. Thus, the puppet's data was updated to the 3rd level of martial arts. This time, the puppets also use all kinds of weapons. And after dying several more times, the hero mastered the use of battle skill. He can beat and destroy these puppets. The hero is proud of his skills and thinks that the puppets will not be able to defeat him anymore. And as the puppets became stronger, he would also become stronger. But after the start of the 4th level of martial arts, the dolls begin to use all known martial arts, such as judo, karate and taekwondo. And after dying many times with these martial arts, the hero can finally learn it and use it on the dolls. Thus, the puppet data was updated to the 5th and final level of martial arts. This time, the puppets use all cunning and deceitful ways to eliminate the hero. It targets all weak points in the human body. Time passes and the heroes continue to train with these dolls. After a long time, the hero hits a strong punch that shatters the dolls into pieces. And so this training finally ends. Then he will receive a reward. It's a legendary degree item, which is a piece of cloth that heals all damages in the body and accelerates growth. But by thinking a little, the hero comes back to life whenever he dies. So for him it's useless. But fortunately he remembers the egg he got earlier. Because of the growth effect of the piece of cloth, he thinks it will help hatch the egg. Indeed, it succeeds, and the light explodes from the egg, which contains a strange creature inside it. A little fairy who looks like a mosquito comes out of the egg. Kang Hyunmo extended his finger out of curiosity at her, but the fairy bit it. So he's surprised and throw it against the wall, and it falls to the ground. The fairy says she's hungry. So the hero tries to feed her some sweets, but she refuses. And point at him, and the hero understands that she was formed from mosquitoes. So her only food would be blood. So he allows her to suck his blood. The hero tries to know more about the fairy, to tell him that she made a promise to eat everything living beings when the world ends. Indeed, Since this fairy was able to absorb Sang-moo's very poisonous blood and nothing happened to her, she might actually be able to do so. Since he cannot get rid of it, he tries to tame her. And say that she is not allowed to eat humans, especially him. In return, he will allow her to suck his blood whenever she is hungry. Finally, the hero finishes training the puppets. But one of the dolls thrown aside catches his attention, as it has been torn in half. Because of his exhaustion, it seems that he did not notice the strength of his last punch. Then the system shows him that he has gained an additional powerful attribute, which is the energy of courage. This trait follows his legendary battle assistant skill. When the hero tests this trait, his punch radiates red energy, destroying the puppet completely. And the mosquito, whose former name was Rinyan, was impressed by that, and also want to try it. She lands a devastating punch that completely shatters the doll's head. Later, when the hero is strolling about, the fairy Rinyan smells a delicious scent. When the hero follows this smell, he finds a skeleton, and under his hand a message saying the message. It had been 3 years since the difficulty had been raised to the inferno level, and the situation seemed to get worse and worse. Most of the children born in this toxic atmosphere died immediately after birth, and people with the ability to liquidate and purify could not bear it, and they started dying one by one, and that there is no longer hope for the survival of the human race, and that humans are inevitably extinct. Indeed, it has happened. In the meantime, the mosquito Rinyan finds a stone with a shape like a star drawn on it. Sang-moo tried to pick up the stone, when the stone radiated golden light and then exploded. The hero looked to his hand to find that the emblem that was drawn on the stone got stuck to his hand. And then a window appears to him saying that the stars are watching him. And suddenly a black beam appears surrounding him. Mosquito Rinyan escapes, leaving the hero to be devoured by the black beam. And he is transported to another dimension that looks like space.
Window appears saying that it has been summoned by planets.
Planets are objects that have absolute control over their lands located somewhere in space. These beings put their ultimate power into stone fragments. Then they distribute it to followers so that they become rulers and expand the lands of these stars. User Kangmu had obtained one of these shards. Therefore, the constellations want one of their followers to become. And then the hero hears a strange sound to look up and see a huge beam heading towards him, and a small stars of different colors hovering around the hero and making strange sounds. Sang-moo wondered what they were saying. Then a window appears to him from the system saying that the stars have liked him and want to invest in him, and he must choose one constellation of them to follow. But the hero gets angry and says that he does not know anything about these planets. So how will he choose between them? This is why a brief definition of these planets appears. First, the Shattered Ghoul planet, which is a planet with cunning and deceitful plans. Secondly, the Snake of Greed and Desire, which is a planet with desires and appetites. Never satiate. Thirdly, the Morning Planet Freddy, which is the planet of all sadness and depression. He also controls an army of the dead. Fourth, the Gaseous Planet Arnon, which is a planet that specializes in battles and the slaughter of enemies. Fifth, the Whispering Constellation Moonstrel, which is a constellation that incites in the light, but deceives in the darkness. The hero asks what would change if he chose one of these planets. A glimpse of the future appears to him in the event that he chooses all his planet. But getting such a good thing arouses the hero's suspicions. He wonders if he had to pay the price for having such power. The planets tell him that only he must follow and serve this being. The hero hesitates in choosing and says that there is no guarantee or any contract to trust them. The constellations say it will give him more time to think. Then put it back to where it was. But one of the planets catches up with him and approaches him and stings him in the arm. It seemed that the constellation had given him a legendary skill called Dominance. Kang Hyunmo wonders if how the stars are able to give such legendary skills without any effort. He thinks that with such skills, the Earth would not have perished or reached its present state. And if the stars wanted to save humanity, they would do so easily. Kang Hyunmo ignored it and returned to his own world. Since he had obtained a large amount of high-quality crystal, He is thinking of buying his own home. But that would cause him a lot of problems since he had obtained the crystal in a illegal way. So he decides to enroll as a hunter in the government association. This is because they can earn a lot of profits through dungeons. So the next day, Kang Hyunmo goes to the guild. But he must do some tests to be accepted. First, a physical examination, where the tester inserts his hand into one of the devices and holds a glass ball. Then he presses it to measure the force of pressure. Unfortunately, the hero breaks the glass ball easily. So the examiner retests again. But once again he breaks it. Because of that, the examiner could not assess Kang Hyunmo's worth. And it gives him a result under verification. When carrying out other tests, the hero continues to obtain a result under verification. As for the last one, it is a test of the ability of the hunter, where participants must enter an imaginary dungeon and fight artificial monsters. One of the leaders of the large guilds arrives at the test site, because one of the test participants caught his attention. It is the red butterfly. While browsing the information of the test participants, he is surprised by the hero's ability poison blood. But because of the disadvantages of this skill, where if his blood splatters a little, it will cause great harm to his teammates. Therefore, the guild leader ignored the Kang Hyunmo and put him aside. And at the beginning of the test, several participants gather at the door of the imaginary cell. And one of the employees gives them a pink stone to each one of them. And he goes without saying anything. Participants enter the cell. On the radio, an official explains the rules of the test, where the participants must collect the largest number of stones that were given to them before the test. The participants were divided into groups of 5 people. During the next 3 hours, they must collect as many stones as possible. This is done by either eliminating the other participants, or eliminate the monsters in the dungeon. But when the test begins, the hero refuses to participate with his group. This is because he does not want to split first place prize with the rest of the group members. So he wants to go alone. But one of his group mates pulls him from behind and says he won't let him go until he hands over his stone. Kang Hyunmo gets angry and strikes a punch into his face that knocks him down. Then the scales turn and the champion decides to collect the stones of his fellows instead of the other way around. After seeing the hero's strength, the fellows hand over their stones without any resistance. But he wasn't the only hero to do so. There was also the red butterfly that did the same, and after taking the stones of its classmates, Red Butterfly encounters the first monsters in the dungeon. It is a monster manufactured with the latest new industrial technologies. It is characterized by its exceptional fighting ability, stamina, and mana reflection. He also has an experienced AI using combat skills. He has a skin made of spores of a mushroom monster that has the ability to self-renew. This makes it impossible to eliminate it individually. But if a team with perfect teamwork attacked together, then it would be possible to overthrow him. But Red Butterfly had already overthrown her team. She is currently fighting the monster on her own. The guild leader watches the participants through the external screen. One of the participants draws his attention. And he was the hero Tsung Mu, who had already destroyed many of these monsters single-handedly, which was very boring for him. Then an announcement appears that half an hour of the test has passed, and that 30% of the tiles have changed owners, so they will announce the winners for the first 3 positions. Third place is Hong Ryan with 7 stones. Second place is the Red Butterfly with 9 stones. First place is Kangmu with 16 stones. And easily the hero finishes destroying the artificial monsters, and obtain a group of spore meat fibers. He decides to use the formation skill he obtained earlier. Thus, he obtains a shield for the hands and legs. Then he goes looking for more. Red Butterfly felt nervous, unable to surpass Tsung Mu. But suddenly a large group of people appear who are targeting the Red Butterfly. She jumps high and avoids their attacks. And with graceful and impressive movements, she jumps from one wall to another, and pounds on them to eliminate a large number. That's when someone comes from far away, destroying everything in front of him. And it turns out to be her friend Hong Ryan. The Red Butterfly ignores its friend and jumps up and left alone. And back to the hero who was wandering around. He feels something coming from far away at a crazy speed. And if the red butterfly appeared out of nowhere, without any hesitation, she attacks the hero, who hardly responds to her attacks. If not for the skilled battle helper, it would have been difficult to dodge them. When the hero sees that the battle has become difficult, he decides to use the skill that he did not want to use before, because it can cause a lot of harm to humans. It's the skill Energy Courage. The red butterfly charged towards Kang Hyunmo. The hero gathers his energy in his right hand and then the two collide. Energy explodes all over the place. But because of this collision, Red Butterfly's arm is broken. Thus, she declares her loss. The demands to hand over her jewels. Indeed, she throws the stones on the ground. But without warning, her friend appears and pushes Kang Hyunmo so hard that he hits the ground and rolls towards the wall like a ball. Of course, she was angry because the hero had hurt her friend. Hero gets up angry and says he will not let this pass without reckoning. But the officials announce that the time is up and announce the test results. In third place with 21 stones. In second place is Kang Hyunmo's 69 stone. In first place is the red butterfly with 88 stones. This was because her classmate had given up her stone to the red butterfly before it charged towards the hero. Kang Hyunmo feels disappointed but ignores it. But fellow butterfly does not let the hero go. She insists that he should apologize for what he did to her hand. The hero tries to control himself, but she intervened in his fight and put the blame on him. Also because of her, he lost first place. And now she wants him to apologize. So Kang Hyunmo reaches his limits and decides to teach her a lesson. He sends a thin thread and wraps it around her neck. Then, he activated his domination skill. A group of terrifying monsters appears. But no one else seems to see them other than her. And a state of panic strikes her. She starts screaming loudly, then falls to the ground. The hero didn't expect the skill's effect to be so strong, so he ran away. In the resting area, Kang Hyunmo looked tired, as his domination skill drained a lot of mana. A person in a black suit approaches the hero. He is offering him to join a guild that belonged to the person who was watching the Taeminsu guild. While he was waiting in the car, his escort returns and apologizes that he could not recruit the hero. Later, the hero returns home, and his classmate asks him about the box he has. It seems that this box is the prize of the first place that the red butterfly handed over as a form of apology. They are rare gloves that increase strength and defense. When the hero reaches home, his expression changes completely, and he feels danger near him. So he tells his colleague to go home and not go out until he gets back. The hero heads towards the alley. Then he finds a pile of dead bodies and also Park Hiso. He is the old man who bought the algae crystal from him, who says that these gang members from Japan have come in search of his mysterious crystal. The hero asks why he is really here. Then the old man once again offers an alliance with the Tyson Guild. He tells him that he has just rejected their offer a while ago. But it seems that the old man does not accept rejection as an answer. So he attacks without listening to what he says. The hero narrowly avoids the attack and responds with an energy punch, and it seems that he has put on gloves beforehand. The old man takes out his sword, which was hidden in the stick. Kang Hyunmo was having great difficulty handling the sword. But with the help of the battle skill, he can avoid the blows, and he jumps high, away from the range of the sword. But very quickly, the old man approaches him and shoots a quick blow to his head. The hero takes advantage of the old man approaching him. He grabs his neck and uses his dominant skill. The old man loses consciousness for a moment, so he tries to pull him by his collar and knock him down. But soon the old man regained consciousness and pointed his sword at the hero's neck. Then the blood explodes. Not from his neck, but from his hand. This is because the old man did not want to kill him. The hero laughs hysterically because the old man has overlooked the hero's most important abilities. It is poisonous blood. The sword is corroded and unusable. Kang Hyunmo took advantage of the opportunity and grabbed the old man's face with his fist. And he crushes him against the wall. But the old man grabbed his hand and hit him with his elbow, breaking the hero's hand completely. He then kicks him away and takes out a box of high-quality medicine for him to use. But even before it takes effect, the hero gets up, unharmed. This is due to his title Last Survivor, which reacts when health drops below 10%. The old man gets up and says he came to offer a deal, not to fight. And that this was a test to verify the identity of the hero. So he offers him again to join them. Kang Hyunmo categorically refuses again, but in return makes the old man a surprising offer. It seems that he was impressed by the old man's skills. So he tries to hire him and says that the leader of his union is only a famous person in the media. So it's better to abandon him and follow a talented man like him. The old man marvels at Kang Hyunmo's arrogance and says that he is either an idiot who is unaware of what is around him, or a loser with big dreams. Then he draws his sword again. Kang Hyunmo thought that sword would be of no use to him. But when the old man brandished the sword, a beam of energy shot out from it. He smashes the wall behind the hero. Then the old man says that if he wanted to kill him, he would have done so a long time ago easily. And he couldn't resist. Also, the Tyson Syndicate contains many people who are stronger than him. So a person with this weakness has no right to speak ill of her. However, this did not affect Sung Mu. He was sure that he would become better than Li Jai, the guild master. But it is always easier said than done. An old man said that only half a year after becoming a hunter, Li Jin was able to reach level 20. Any other person, even if he was a genius, would have taken at least a year. And if Kang Hyunmo could do that, perhaps he will prove his abilities. But not in a year, or even half a year. The hero offers to reach level 20 in just 2 weeks. This is because he wants to prove that he is better than the head of the guild, and not just at the same level. And for whom all his needs and special facilities for training were provided, he could not do that. If you are going to try, I hope you have a better place than him. The hero smiles and says, don't worry. I already have my own place. Indeed, Kang Hyunmo wasted no time. He began searching and hunting monsters in hell level, in which even the weakest monsters had the ability to resist. While the hero hits one of the goblins, he bites his hand. But he is not affected even a little bit by this, and even crushes his head on the ground. Before entering hell, Kang Hyunmo was only at the 10th level. But now, he had already reached level 15. This is due to the intense hunting of monsters. But the hero's body reaches its limits, so he decides to take a break. And there was someone waiting for the hero to get his meal. It is the fairy Renian, and while it tastes its meal, the hero's head is preoccupied with some things. Since he had killed so many goblins, he thought that this level did not pose any threat to him. Only one goblin can cause trouble, and that's Red Riding Hood. But the biggest fears often become reality. With this, the Red Hat Goblin appears suddenly behind the hero. The strange thing was that he completely ignored him, and went straight towards the pile of goblin corpses. Then he screams loudly and jumps directly towards the hero. Kang Hyunmo shouts, I'm not afraid, come at me. But after a while a message appears, the survival period has been 12 days and 6 hours. It seems that the goblin was so angry that the hero could not resist. But his anger didn't end there once the hero was revived. The goblin quickly pounced on him, and killed him again. The ball is repeated several more times. Finally, a hero decides to confront him and punches him with energy. He says, okay, I just need to face you. The hero is then dismembered before he has even finished speaking. The massacre of the hero continues many times and does not even give him time to rest. After a while, the hero somehow manages to escape. For several days the elf in the red hat cannot find him. So he thinks he ran away. A member of the goblin tribe appears and tells him that something terrible has happened. Someone has poisoned the drinking water, which has led to the death of many. And after he comes back and checks it himself, he realizes that the only person who can do this is that human. So he goes looking for him again. The other goblins tries to stop him since his enemy is able to return to life whenever he dies. But he doesn't care. While they were going to look for him, they found the body of one of their comrades, with traces of poisoning on it. Red Hat deduces that this may be a trap to lure them out of the village. So he orders the others to return to protect them. And he will go find him. Despite the hero's rapid growth, the goblin thinks he can easily defeat him, because he has preserved his style and his way of fighting. But the hero's target was not the goblins in the village. It was the Red Hat Goblin from the start. And since he has become alone, the hero himself appears and says, "I will give you a chance. A chance of dying at my hands." The goblin knows that the hero is almost immortal, and that every time he dies, he miraculously comes back to life. As for him, if he dies, it will be his end and the end of all members of the tribe with him. So the goblin says that he will keep him alive, but after cutting off all his limbs. But Kang Mu doesn't care and says that even if he can't kill him, killing his clan is easy. The goblin shows despair and throws his sword, then gives up and says, "If my life is the price, that's okay. But you have to leave the tribe members in peace." And that was the end of the goblins in the Red Hat. Or at least that's what the hero thought. The goblin startles the hero by kicking him aside. Then he followed with a sword strike. Kang Hyunmo blocked the blow with difficulty, but the goblin had already gained the advantage. Then he continues to attack, hit, and cut the abdomen, and says that he will make sure to torture him as much as possible. But since the goblin always finished off the hero quickly, he didn't get the chance to study all his skills. The last survivor title not only brings the hero back to life, but when the health drops below 10%, rapid renewal is activated. So the hero took advantage of the opportunity, and clenched his fist on the goblin's neck. Then he hits a strong punch and follows it up with a stronger punch that sends him away from him. The hero then pounces on him, and crushes him against the wall. However, the situation turns upside down, and then the hero hits him with punches, and let out all the anger that was inside him. Going back to the goblin's first encounter with the hero, his level was very low. So he was dying quickly, and when he reached the 15th level, he was already exhausted from killing so many monsters. So, he didn't get a chance until now to show off his fighting skills, which made the goblin lower his guard, and this was his only mistake. The goblin begs for his life after realizing that he will die. But the hero has already learned his lesson. And this time it was really the end of the imp in the Red Hat. Or as we think. Finally, having obtained his revenge, the hero breathes a sigh of relief. And get a bonus silver box and turn into a golden box. It rises 3 levels. By calculating the experience he gained earlier from goblin poisoning, the hero reaches level 20. But there was something that baffled the hero. The goblin's physical strength was very high. So he tries to inspect his body to discover the secret behind it. Then he finds strange writings on his arm, but the writing suddenly dissipates from his hand and gathers in the form of a black ball in the sky. Then you hack the hero's hand. A message appears. You have absorbed the shattered star fragment, and obtained a legendary skill. Then the hero returns to his world and goes to meet the old man. Since he had reached level 20, he won the bet. But the old man refuses the challenge, and it is impossible that when the hero made the bet, he did not agree to that. But in order for the hero not to be angry with him, he offers him to raise the price of the crystal that he buys from him. The hero says that if you're going to break our promise, you'll have to pay more than that, either double or nothing. But the old man does not seem satisfied with this. So Kang Hyunmo conceded the matter since he was so interested in the relationship with the old man. And he throws something at him. It is a legendary rank item, the Seal of Trust, which doubles one's senses for a period of time. But the old man notices something strange about this ring and says that in view of its shape, there must be another husband with it. But the hero replies that it is the only piece he found. The old man believes this, and says that he will double the price of the crystal as he wants. But indeed there was a pair of this ring which was in the hero's possession. It is the Seal of Obedience, which enables you to track the person who bears the Seal of Trust and can also temporarily reduce their stats by 50%. Later, the hero trains with the old man. Since the old man was hiding his true abilities, the hero appears completely helpless in front of him. But he keeps getting up again, so the old man decides to get serious. Punches begin raining down on him. He tries to answer it, but the old man breaks his arm. After a period of training, the hero takes a break and uses the time to collect information about the stars from hell. But this information is very rare even among high-ranking people. So he doesn't know anything about her. But the old man advises the hero to purify his cell. The hero seems surprised by that, but really if he wants to get support in the future, he has to make a record for himself. Because no matter how strong he was, if he didn't have the experience, people wouldn't take him seriously. The old man says he will take care of arranging things. After several days, since it is officially the first time for the hero, he is sent to a 1-star dungeon. Then someone calls the participants, and she is the supervisor of the entry test, and also a hunter at the intermediate level. While she explains the rules, the hero gets bored. The supervisor approaches him quickly and then starts talking to her, and says that his face is very familiar, but she does not remember where she saw him. Then she asks him if he brought his equipment with him. The hero takes out from the storeroom the wand he forged earlier in hell. But one of the participants gets angry at Kang Hyunmo's actions and raises his weapon and points it at the hero. But the supervisor intervened quickly and easily, knocking him to the ground, holding the sword and hitting him beside his head. It says displaying weapons in public is prohibited. As the hero observes the female supervisor, he seems to have been impressed by her abilities, so he thinks it would be useful to test her. Strangely, the hero's shadow extends, and a strange being emerges from it, which is the goblin with the red hat.